Welcome back to Z to Z. I'm your host, Louis Picasso. We are now on episode 11. If you're a first-time listener to this podcast, we are a franchise podcast that is focused on providing information for Zs by Zs. So on today's episode, I have a longtime friend on the show who was a franchisee and went on to start her own financial business. Elizabeth Reyes, thank you for being on the show in Z to Z.
Hi, Louis. Nice to hear from you again.
Yes, it's been a bit. We're quite an adventure and a history from our past, and I know we'll talk about a little bit more about that. But welcome again to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you. I know that when we last spoke, we had talked about you wanting to get on the show, and we were finally able to get you on. It's been a little bit, but I'm so glad that you're finally here and on the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you that you have this podcast. You're reaching so many future franchisees, potential franchisees. I love being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, listen, today's a little different. Obviously, we'll get into it. I know that, you started your own financial group called World Financial Group. But because we are a franchise podcast and we want to focus on your history of franchising as a franchisee and that transition you made. And usually on my show, we talk about transitioning into franchising. In this particular episode, we're gonna talk about franchising out for franchising. So
sure.
So it's a little different, but it's important to understand because there is people out there that are in franchising today, and for whatever reason, need to get out, or they just want to transition out of that particular brand into another brand.
That's right. But I have to tell you, Louis, before you go on, having chapters in our lives is valuable, and I cannot really ignore the great value of that chapter in my life. Spending 8 years with a franchise as a franchisee, that was very valuable to me.
Kumon was the franchise that you were with, and Kumon it helped educate students to a very unique level, and I'll have you explain to that a little bit more. And that's basically how we met. And I was your FBC, your franchise business consultant, for a good duration of that time that you were there. And but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your transition. I mean, you transitioned a lot in your life, and like you said, chapters. You immigrated from the Philippines, right?
That's correct. And it's been 15 years, only 15 years since we moved. My husband was moved here, and we moved our 4 children with us. So prior to that, my life back home was as a corporate employee and executive. So that was about 25 years of being an employee. So when I came here to the US with our 4 children, I wanted to spend time with them for a change. I said, what can I do? What can I do that would allow me to recreate myself, to be the different me? You see, when you're put in an environment, a new country, a new culture, how do you deal with that? So I found that a franchise was a comfortable transition, from being a corporate executive to coming to the country, to the US, and then having a business with a franchise model.
Right. Now your background is you were a corporate employee at one point, right? In the
That's right.
Philippines. Right. So you came in with skills. You came in with business skills that you can transfer over as being a franchisee or being in the franchisee, and also the skills and the knowledge to migrate, or I should say to transition into the business world here in the US.
Right. That's
Right.
right.
So that I would say that helped you a lot in that transition purpose, having that experience in the Philippines.
Yes. But how I found Kumon, it was my daughter who actually found it because she worked part time. She worked in university. She was in the university, and then she worked part time in a Kumon center in Tempe. And then she said, Mom, haven't you always wanted to be a teacher? And I said, yes, but I've given up that dream. I don't think I can be a teacher anymore. I had a commercial real estate license at that point, and I said, I'm fine. I'm okay. But you know what she did? She got onto her laptop right in front of me and filled out the application. And I'm like, what? What did you just do? And so, but you know what? Okay, I said, fine, I'll go into an interview in the office. I did. I went to the franchise office, and the rest is history. I felt deeper and deeper into it. I fell in love with it. And then I realized that our children, our older children, went to Kumon. So we benefited. By that time, they were in university already, and they were doing great in
Right.
their academic life. So I guess that's a lesson that we need to remember. We need to be passionately believing in the product of the franchise company. And I said, if I benefited from that as a mother, I can deliver it to other families. Oh, those years are coming back, Louis, when we worked together. How I felt so
Yeah.
passionate about just working with the children and with the parents too.
Yeah, no, and that is the culture that Kumon provides to all of its franchisees is a really in-depth understanding and learning of the culture and the reason why you're there. And it is about the kids. So, but going back a little bit, you had to recreate basically yourself, because now you mentioned that you did a real estate, you had a real estate license, and you're doing commercial real estate, and that was before Kumon, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That was before Kumon. I did not renew my real estate license because I really was very focused on my franchise. You have to be very focused. You couldn't do more than one thing.
Right, right. So when you decided that you wanted to do the franchise, let's talk a little bit about Kumon. And so when you decided you were in the commercial real estate market, and you were doing that, you were probably more than likely really successful in that, and then which in turn launched you and turned another chapter of your life, if you will. And let's continue with that analogy there with the chapters in your life, and you went from there to Kumon. Now you said that your daughter found Kumon, and she thought that you would be a great at it, which she was pretty smart, because you were really good at it at the time during those 8 year tenure
Thank
there.
you.
So tell us a little bit about Kumon, and what attracted you to Kumon.
Well, first of all, it was a franchise. We're talking about franchises. So when I studied the franchise disclosure document, I
FDD.
really
Yeah.
read through it, Louis. I
Yeah.
did. I read through every page because before that, I had to Google things online. And I found a lot of complaints, a lot of bad things, negative things about Kumon and franchising in general. And I
Right.
said, no, as I read through the document, I said, all the answers are here. These people are complaining because they never read the document. They never understood what it really meant. And so when I started to appreciate the franchise model, how it works, how it makes one comfortable to go into something that's already proven. There's a system that is laid out for you. The company had by then what 50 years in
Hmm.
existence, and
Yeah.
it's worldwide,
Yeah.
and there are many customers benefiting from the product. I mean, what better way to go into business rather than starting from scratch? Uh,
Right.
Being a franchisee allows, there's a guiding hand. There are people like you. And that's why I had a great time working with people like you because the company will help you and guide you through the product, through the process, through the requirements, and just deliver the product. That's all we need to do. And that's
Right.
why the training, the conversations we would have about how we could make things better for us, those were valuable. Without a franchise company, it would have been very difficult to put myself in a position of being a business owner.
You just dove right in. You dove right into this American culture of that American dream, right? And what that meant, and you went right in for it. And that was always really impressive to me. Finding all these possibilities was very impressive to me, because we did talk a lot. I was, so just to describe to what my role was, I was a franchise business consultant for Kumon, which is again a global company, global franchise. And one of the things and my job was to consult with a section of franchisees. In my particular situation, I had in two states, Arizona and in Nevada as well. So I got to meet all these great entrepreneurs, all these great franchisees, and all of them were at different levels and a different expertise on their background and what have you. So it was an interesting way to really understand, for me, understand the model that I was working with, and then taking that model and splitting that model up in different areas to different franchisees that needed understanding of a particular segment of Kumon, right? So what I found during my tenure there, and Elizabeth, you can vouch for this. What I found that was lacking in that particular model was the background, the business background of that, right? And you and I had many conversations with that, and I know that I have many conversations with with other franchisees about setting up a good business plan, business model for your business and your franchisee. And I felt that that was a little bit lacking on the model, but because of my background, I was able to share that with a lot of my franchisees that I was helping and consulting with, to really explore that. So talking on the business side was also very helpful.
Yeah, that's right. You are a great consultant, Louis. You always were there for me. And I think to our future franchisees, if you're going into this, I think one of my greatest strengths at that time was curiosity. And I was always hungry to learn, always asking why this way, why not that way. And that's why our exchange was very healthy, is because I asked all these questions and you answered them and you made it clearer to me. And that's why you talk about being an immigrant and coming here into a strange country. Someone like a franchisor or a consultant like you would help us, because what do we know? What do we know about the business model? I know the product as a consumer, but that didn't mean that I could go into the business full time. I mean, wholeheartedly.
Right.
My whole background was as an employee, and that's totally different from being a franchisee. So you speak about others. I think immigrants have that natural ability to just want to succeed when they start something. So my friends were telling me, "Oh, you've only been in the country for 5 years and you're starting a business." And so they looked at that as being bold and courageous. And little did they know that I had a lot of help. There's a lot of help from consultants like you, from the franchise company, and just using all the skills that you bring with you. So that's the combination that we all have, and that's all available to us. So what I'm driving at is, yes, it's a franchise. Yes, there's a product, but there's also that tender, loving care that a franchisee puts into the business, the heart and soul of it.
But then something happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you decided to switch, and you and I had this conversation that you wanted to get out and you wanted to explore and you wanted to do that. How was that transition when you first decided that morning you woke up and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this? How was that for you?
Well, you're right. Being a business owner is difficult. There's so many things to navigate through, and the biggest was growth. And how could growth happen when we were allowed only to have one center, one location? So it was very territorial, 3 mile, 5 mile radius, maybe.
Right.
And with other locations being close by, it became difficult. Aside from that, aside from the growth issue that we had, I felt also that I wasn't really a business owner, but I was self-employed, meaning, yes, I could take a brief vacation, be away for a week or two, but my mind would still be there. I would still be texting my staff, and they would still ask me, how would I deal with Anita? What's her problem? Why is she like
Right.
this? And I would still be texting or calling, and I couldn't be away. And so a real business to me So if you want to go from franchisee to being a full-blown entrepreneur, is that you can be a system owner, meaning you don't have to be in the business to have it run for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I transitioned. I can't do this anymore. I can't be in the business too much. And I
Right.
guess that's because not all franchise companies are that way. I think other franchise companies you can be outside of it and still have it run with or without you. You
Right.
see,
And,
yeah.
and you made a great point earlier because you did understand that you did understand the business. You read the FDD, which a lot of people don't do that. But deal when you said when you felt like I'm done. Okay, what happened?
It was difficult, you know, very difficult because I felt like, and I literally would tell my friends this, it's like selling a child that you have raised, grown all these years, and you have to let go of it. It was very emotional to me. But you know what? Going back to why we had to sell it, in the very beginning, not sure if you remember this, Louis, my plan was to purchase more than one franchise
Correct.
and to be a master franchise in one city, for instance. But the rules had changed, and we have to be ready for that. Franchise companies will change rules. They made it more difficult to own your second location. And that's why I said, oh, I don't think it is going to happen as planned. And therefore, yeah, so we had to make that decision to just let go. So, how did I feel? It was very emotional, Louis, very difficult. But then you have to make those decisions in your life. Like I said, chapters happen. I was ready for the next chapter, and unless you say that, you won't be able to let go.
The beauty that what you had just said is that it was time. It wasn't something that you forced to happen. It wasn't something that you were going against the grain and you were always in dispute with the franchise organization. It wasn't anything. It was just time. And when you know it's time, things happen. Great things will happen. And when it's time to transition to something else, or like you say, change the chapter, you came to a point in your franchise experience that, listen, it's time to change. I found another opportunity, and everything just seemed to click into its place.
Yeah. My husband and I decided that we would sell it. It took us 2 years before a buyer came along. And so that really gave me a long amount of time to decide that is this the right thing to do, because I could have pulled out, right? I could have said, no, it's not for sale anymore, I'm keeping it on. But a buyer came along, and you're right, when the right time comes, the opportunity will come. And so it wasn't difficult. I was praying that she would be the right, instructor to take over my franchise and be there for our students.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that even though it took time, I mean, nothing's going to happen overnight, right? But you did the right things. We followed the plan, of the exit strategy, if you will, and that exit strategy you and I spoke. Well, we got to sell it. We got to we have to market your business to that right franchisee. So, and I'm glad that happened, and it worked out great for you. And then you found World Financial Group. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're basically in the insurance products, retirement products. Preparing for long term care is a huge one, but anything and everything to do with how you want to prepare for your future financially, whether it's preparing for death or major illness, preparing for retirement, having a baby. So we just got our first millionaire baby. Set up his own account. Yes, if you do your numbers right, they could end up becoming millionaires by the time they're age 65. So it's from being a baby all the way to, I'd say, 85. That's the but we have agents also who are in their 80s, some in their 70s, and they call it an encore career, meaning they still have something to give. They're retired, but they still have something to show for what they are. And we're very excited about the young ones, the old ones, and the middle ones. And it's very interesting how they want to grow with us, they want to build their business with us, and they want to and so all the experience that I've gathered, through all my previous chapters are coming into play here. It was not easy because starting from scratch is way more difficult than, with a franchise company.
In your case, you're kind of describing almost a licensee type of situation, to where you provide the products and the resources to person number A here, or letter A, and then they go on and utilize your products and services to others and to their customers as well. So right now, you said, I think you mentioned to me, you have like 80 licensed agents. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow, that's impressive. Two senior brokers, and you got some passive income already coming through here. So that means, how long you've been doing this?
It's 10 years. 10
10 years.
years. I would, yeah, 10 years technically, but the first few years we were not very serious about it. I wish we were. We wasted some time there, but yeah, seriously, maybe over the last 6 years.
So being successful with World Financial Group, and getting into the age to 80 licensed agents now, can can you attribute some of your experience as a franchisee to help you, own this non-franchisee? What skills spilt over, you think?
Oh, a lot. Like I told you, each chapter builds into the next chapter. It kind of like snowballs all your experience, your wisdom, your confidence. And so when I made that decision to go into being, a non-franchisee and being a full-blown entrepreneur, I said that you just have to be confident that all the skills, all the experience that you gathered will help you into that next step. So it's all about being confident in yourself that you gathered all of these things behind you. You connect the dots and you're able to use that going forward. So building your confidence, knowing that you have those business system inside of you that are built into you already, and the exposure to the markets. So being exposed to that helps you go move forward.
Yeah, yeah. And you really have, there is obviously emotions that come into play. Obviously, we talked about those emotions you had to transition out of the franchisee into something. And sometimes some franchisees, former franchisees, don't have the opportunity to sell, and that's makes it difficult. It really makes it difficult. And there's other avenues that you got to take. And again, we'll save those particular avenues for another episode. But there is avenues that you can take, and I'm very, very fortunate. It's very fortunate for you to find that right franchisee, or that right potential franchisee that came your way to buy your business and move on. Because if you didn't have that, and thank God that it happened the way it did, because if you didn't, and you didn't find that right person to come in and just basically take over for you where you left off, it would have been difficult for you. I think, knowing you, it would have been very difficult for you to say that you left your business off to somebody that you're really not 100% sure of.
Yes. Well, we always have to manage our emotions. And I know you have to manage between being emotional and being non-emotional, because you have to stand firm to what you really want to do. So knowing your purpose in life, knowing exactly where you want to be is very, very helpful. And so when you do that, I'm a believer in God, and I know I know not everyone in the audience will believe in God, but I believe in destiny. I believe in when you want something and work towards it, and you're very steadfast in what you desire, things will just unfold in front of you.
Right.
Many times we think that, oh, I'm a failure. I don't know how to do this. No buyer is coming along, and therefore I feel bad. No,
Yeah.
if we remain optimistic and positive, no, he's somewhere out there They're all out there. Someone's waiting for me, and we just have not met. And it can take 2 years, like it did with me, to
Yeah.
find that owner. So, in the same way, when I look for a prospect agent or a prospect client, they're all out there. I just have to put myself out there more, and they will land in front of me even without my finding them, because the desire is there.
Well, I can tell you, I can tell you. I mean, I've known you for a while now. You are very persistent. You are somebody who goes after what, if you want something, you're going to go after it, no question. And I love that about you, because you're pleasantly aggressive in that manner. And I think we all need to have that type of trait, is to be pleasantly aggressive. You know, you, rather than being so annoyingly aggressive, you're pleasantly aggressive in the sense that you really want to hear what you have to say, right? And so, and I think that's why, that's a huge reason of your success, and why you have so many people under you now. And
Oh, thank you. I like that phrase. I'm going to add that to my collection. Pleasantly aggressive. I've never heard that before, but I love it. But yeah, that's what we all have to be, because our mission is to become better versions of ourselves, right? And so if we're not going to fight for it, and we don't have to be rudely aggressive, like you said, right? We can always be just being a go getter, just going for the better version of yourself and just learning. That to me is the secret of why you say I'm a success. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for that.
no, not for sure. I mean, I call it like it is, and I've known you long enough, and you know, so I'm very impressed, and about what you've done, and how that transition went. Now, well, the other transition, I know we're skipping a little bit of topics here just because of time constraint here, but one other thing that really was different from what you were doing before with Kumon to now, is that you're going from a brick and mortar, right? I mean, having a Kumon means that you have to have a brick and mortar. It's a brick and mortar model, to now to a pseudo hybrid virtual business model that you have now, right?
That's right. Although we've had an office, but that would be for the local agents. But we had agents all over the country. Now the pandemic actually was worked in our favor, because all the more we had to go full virtual. So yes, it's hybrid virtual, aside from being brick and mortar. So this month, we're happy to say that we are letting go of our office. We don't need it. We didn't need it during the pandemic, and that may open their eyes that we can, and that's why I have a lot of Zoom. That's why, thank you for complimenting my sound, because I had to invest in a microphone, a good camera, and good speakers, and a light, right? Because we're now going into Zoom. And so it widens the horizon now for me to be able to go into every state, and even across to Canada. And so being virtual now allows that scalability. And that's the big buzzword for me right now. How do I scale our business? How do I go leaps and bounds? It's not addition, talk about math and reading, right? It's
Right.
not just addition, but multiplication. How do we multiply, and how do we make use of the business model to be able to scale it? So it's still a big question for me. We haven't found the answers. 80 is not really a big number. We'd like to go into the thousands. The bigger the number is, the more families we shall have helped, the more we multiply. And so I think the pandemic was good for us, because it allowed us to grow using, computer like this, your podcast.
Right.
I'd
Yeah.
love to copy, what you're doing here. I'm very active on my Instagram and Facebook accounts. I have a business page there, which is called What Would Mom Say? And it caters into millennials and moms, at
Right.
the same time, because everyone needs advice in that young age. I went into that because my children are millennials, and then there are Generation Z's, and then the youngest is Alpha. So it's across three young generations, and
Yeah.
I'm addressing them, that age group, and they're hungry for knowledge. They're hungry for role models, and that's what social media has been. I've been able to tap for
Yeah.
my business.
You know, and that's, again, that's what always impresses me. You always never fail to impress. because you always are looking at other opportunities. You see an opportunity and you took it, and that's I believe what's helped you to transition to what you do today and why you're so successful in today.
Well,
Um,
Louis, my biggest role model is my mother. At age 70, when she's retired, she's now 87, but when she was 70, she retired from being a college professor. She took on piano lessons. And I'm like, what? That's something you learn as a child.
well,
So
now it all makes sense now.
yes, and so that attitude of hers, and she will like, we gifted her with an iPhone. How do I use this thing? An 80-year-old, right? How do I use this thing? But she broke through it and she learned it
Yeah,
because we wanted to communicate with her. She's in the Philippines, and so how do we communicate? You have to give her a good device, duh, right?
yeah.
So she's my role model.
Now, talking about your mom being your support, and did you have a mentor during this whole process?
Of course, definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that. We cannot do without a mentor. I mean, you were there for me during my franchisee days. I have to give credit also to my husband, who is my biggest, biggest mentor. And without his partnership, he left his job to join me in this business. He said that, oh, that's more exciting. You can wake up anytime you want. You can work any day you want. You can work 12-hour days or you can work 0-hour days. So he liked the idea of coming from being an employee. So he was a big mentor, and he has skills that I don't have. We complement each other. And so our quest was also looking for other mentors within the company who have been there. They're earning the income that we want to earn. They're doing bigger things that we want to do as well. They're bringing us to places that we have not been to before. So they're up close and personal to us. And then there are mentors they're on YouTube, they're on podcasts like you. So we listen to that. There are book authors too, on Audible or in real books, right? We read a lot. His goal, my husband's goal, is one a week, one book a week, and he's hitting his goal. Me, I'm just one or two books a month. But we read a lot, we listen to videos a lot, we have our personal mentors, we have role models, and we have consultants all around us because someone else has had this problem before. And I want to find who has solved it, who has solved it for himself. And reading about all these successful entrepreneurs, following them on social media, reading about them in articles. You read about Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, who else? There's Tony Robbins, Ed Milet. Reading about them and following them makes you puts you in that world where I can learn from them. If they can do it, I can do it. And if I find someone who's from the Philippines too, or an immigrant like me, or a former franchisee like me, then I will say, wow, there's so much to learn from other people's experiences. That's why I love meeting with people. I love sitting down with you, even to this day that we don't work together anymore, because I still learn a lot. And see, now you give me this what is this app on the computer to do this podcast. This is
Alyssa.
so cool, very cool. I love it. And I probably will copy you. You're such a role model and mentor to me.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. I think, I think mutually we've both taken a lot from each other back and forth and information, and just shared our successes and shared our downfalls too as well. We sat down, had coffee many times before, and just kind of talked about our ups and downs, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Now, if you had to do all this all over again, Elizabeth, what advice would you give yourself first, and what advice would you give others?
Oh, I would say don't hesitate. Trust your instincts, trust your gut, believe in yourself. Many times we're the ones who pull ourselves down. We blame other things, other people, our circumstances, but everything that happens to us is because of what's inside our head, inside our minds. And combining those two helps you become a more balanced person. So I would say, I would tell others, just go for it. fail forward. Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
So what do you think with that? What do you think makes a great Z?
Knowing what you want and feeling it inside of you, following your passion, and believing everything that has ever happened to you. And if you feel like you don't have enough experience, talk to people. That's what my kids are doing. They're setting up a business now. Kudos to them. And I said, what do these kids know? They're only in their 30s. What do they know about business? What do they know about the beverage industry? Well, you know what they're doing? They're spending countless hours talking to everyone in the industry, as many people as they can. So know what you want, believe in what you have experienced, be willing to grow, because there's a lot of potential inside of us. Always believe in that. And if you go into a franchise system or any business system, wherever we are, we have to be coachable because it has worked. Well, the assumption is you're going with a successful brand, a successful company. They are not successful for nothing. They have done something right. And when you talk to these people, as a good franchisee, you talk to other franchisees and ask them, what made you grow? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And how did you learn from it? So, by talking to a lot of people, we learn a lot. So, curiosity is a good trait of a franchisee to have, coachability, or I would say teachability. Be willing to learn, because some of us are too proud. Oh, I know this, I know that. The moment you tell yourself you know it, then you have failed already. Always be like a child, willing to learn, willing to absorb things and process it. So, that to me makes a good franchisee.
To summarize this interview is I think that you have to have a passion for what you're doing in your brand, and you have to be brave to find when that time comes to transition. You have to have that bravery to transition out, and then you have to be able to recreate yourself, and then find that passion for what you're doing next. I think we always get caught up in the fact that we never really failure is just a process of success. And thank you for being on the show.
Oh, congratulations, Louis. This is awesome. The way you're helping people. Uh, I guess that's one more thing, when you help other people, uh, things come back to you multiple times, right? And I love what you're doing. This is great. You're reaching a huge audience, and I love being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. A great story of determination
Bye-bye.
and change.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing your journey with us. And thank you for listening to Z to Z. As always, you can listen to all of our previous episodes on www.z2z.com. That's Z2ZEE.com, or on your favorite podcast channels. I always like to close the show with a favorite quote. If you want to find what really truly lies in your heart, focus your thoughts on what you can do rather than what others might say you cannot. Until next week.